Alright, so here we go. We have a brand new update from the community manager of Outriders. Some responses to some big questions, including this one right here. Have the devs abandoned us? So you guys know that I've been covering Outriders, and it has been quite quiet recently, for sure. We also have a response to this thread as well. Take a look at this. This is the question right here. If the upcoming patch has any character gun mod nerfs, I will be sorely disappointed. So a lot of you guys are really concerned about them nerfing the game. We have an actual extensive reply from Square Enix community manager on this one and the upcoming patch, what's going on there. So yeah, let's dive in right now. Hey everyone, what's happening? Open World Games here, hope you're doing good, and let's find out what in the world is going on with Outriders, because I'm in the same boat as you all. I am wondering what is going on. So let's take a look-see, shall we? Let's dive into this one first right here. It says, it's been a while since we've heard any news about the progress of anything about the game. Do you guys think the devs just got sick of us and ditched it? And that's the biggest concern right now for sure. So let's get into the actual reply from the community manager right here. He goes on to say this: still here, I've been updating the latest gather thread whenever there's news, though I'm also trying to ensure that the news is tangible enough for you to understand the behind the scenes. I'll likely roll out a fresh, more encompassing thread soon. Please do bear in mind that us not posting over the weekend does not mean anything has been abandoned. So yeah, recently they have been super quiet, and I've honestly been really concerned as to what is going on with this game. Now, here's another question from Politicus Maximus, who says, I would feel much better about the state of the game if anyone could rationally explain to me why it takes almost 3 weeks to fix a game-breaking damage bug. Didn't you say you guys were testing a fix like 10 days ago? How can it take this long? Why would you not just revert the golem when the game was actually playable? That is also another question there. It's a good one. It says, I mean, the game is in such a bad shape, everyone is just using trainers to make it playable. I've noticed that as well, that they're also beginning to use trainers on console somehow. Now, community manager replied saying the following: good question, here's a timeline to help explain things a bit. Smiley face. In this case, we identified what we believed was the root cause of the issue on the 7th, Friday, and I updated the community then. Bear that date in mind as you then work through the process below. Now, it says, once an issue fix has been identified, it needs to be software compiled into a build, so all game files need to be pulled into a proper build, not just loose files. That can take a few hours, perhaps half a day. That build is then smoke tested on site, which also takes time, about half a day, so that adds that on there. Once it's through the smoke test, the build needs to be uploaded and sent to our wider QA teams. That upload can take a while since the build is tens of gigabytes in size. Add on a few more hours. The wider QA teams that we have placed throughout the globe then download it, again taking a little bit of time due to its size. Add a few more hours in. Yikes, they need to streamline this, it seems, in the future. It says then the QA teams need to get to work testing as many aspects of the game as possible. It isn't always just a case of checking that the bug in particular has been regressed. The QA process can also, depending on the changes made, involve testers replaying the entire game, start to finish, either including only the main storyline or checking all side quests, and similar as well across all different platforms and playstyle variations. Add on a number of days there. Bear in mind that the Outriders team is comprised of people working in multiple time zones, so if one task is in a certain time zone finishes late on a day, it can impact when the next team in the process gets to it the next day. Finally, add on top of this, submissions with the first parties, which can, depending on the project status, differ between being able to be passed rapidly or may need to go through additional checks, which can by themselves also add on a few up to 4 days. Then we need to consider the ideal release time, either Tuesday or Thursday. This can all, of course, be only kicked off once a particular issue has been identified and reproduced on our side, and that adds time to the front of this process, and it all assumes that all testing is passing flawlessly and that the testing identifies the problem as fixed, plus doesn't find any other new issues. Hopefully, this helps make clear that code testing isn't something that can be turned around at the drop of a hat, mainly because of practical reasons. So yeah, the biggest thing there, it seems like how a lot of the QA testers are spread throughout the world, which is definitely really interesting way of doing things. Let me know your opinion on that one. I'm not too sure if for future projects they can perhaps streamline this in some manner to ensure that future games that require, you know, online patches or something like that could be fixed quicker or something. I don't know. But it seems like this issue should have been resolved a long time ago, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But anyway, let's keep going here. We have this thread right here. Artichoke Heart says, if the upcoming patch has any character gun mod nerfs, I will be sorely disappointed. It says, hopefully they are solely focused on the largest issue at the moment, the damage mitigation, and are aiming to roll out the patch as soon as possible. The other fixes can wait, as this bug has literally made the game unplayable for many. I want to love this game, but it seems at each turn people can fly is trying to ruin it, and the fact they haven't just reversed the patch while they find a fix further worries me that they don't truly care about their community. I was just going to comment on that. I was going to say, you know, maybe it would have been better for them to revert the golem thing, at least temporarily, for those that are really struggling with this damage mitigation issue. That probably would have been the best choice. Hopefully, again, they're learning from all of this for future stuff, future DLC, what have you. All right, so the community manager replied saying, no nerfs are planned for the upcoming patch. The patch is focused primarily on survivability issue. As a reminder, balancing changes are mainly done via the backend and would most of the time not require a patch. Now, our last patch did include a small number of intentional positive balancing changes that did not require some patch work, such as changing sniper behavior and peripheral stuns, but it did not include any intentional nerfs. Now, the killing spree and displayed armor value changes that showed up alongside that patch were unintentional and were rolled back within hours. The reason they crept in is because the patch included an optimization on how the backend was being used, but when pushing this live, a small number of outdated configs were pulled, which resulted in the handful of issues that appeared, which were subsequently and quickly reversed. Now it says this, any other perceived nerfs are not intended. For example, the Devastator statue set now only lasting 8 seconds is a bug, not a nerf, and that is going to be addressed in the future, they said. Now it says, finally, just to add some perspective from our side, we haven't done a proper balancing pass on the game since our changes to launch week. We have been focused entirely on stabilization since then. From my perspective, I know not everyone will share this. A nerf is intentionally making a working feature of the game weaker or less viable. We have since the first launch week not intentionally nerfed anything. What we have done is fix a number of bugs, such as the obviously bugged emergency stance, but I would not consider that a nerf that intentionally changed the balance of the game. I do also admit that the introduction of certain bugs may have infected the consistency with which a certain skills or mods operate, but again, these are just bugs, not intentional nerfs. Now it says, a note on Shadow Stealth Ninja nerfs, as that seems to be a hot topic for debate. We have never engaged in Shadow Stealth Ninja nerfing. To even attempt to secretly change anything without announcing or explaining what has been done would run entirely counter to how we've talked about and shared news of Outriders since our first reveal. We don't plan to start trying to intentionally sneak by any changes now. Furthermore, shadow nerfing is entirely pointless, since any changes would usually be immediately noticed and reported by the community. Trying to sneak them by simply would not work. And no, we have not touched legendary drop rates, despite what some people may feel every now and again. You can usually tell this based on the fact that for every person who feels that they're suddenly getting less legendaries, there is usually another person pointing out that they've got a good or better than usual amount of legendaries during the same time frame. Finally, just to wrap things up, we know that you hate nerfs regardless of the reasoning. That's also part of the reason why we pulled back from balancing until things are stabilized and armor and mods are working as intended. Hopefully, we can address some balance issues once the game is stabilized, but at this point in time, we are not eyeballing anything for an intentional nerf. So they have no plans of nerfing anything in the future. That's the good news, so you can have a sigh of relief there about that one. So don't be paranoid that they plan to nerf anything right there. Now, I did want to say, I really do appreciate their transparency and communicating once again about this stuff. So we should be hearing about some sort of new mega thread from the dev team from the community manager here shortly. I don't know if that's going to be happening today, but if it does, I'll be posting another video for you all for sure. So stay tuned about that one. I promised you guys I would keep you guys up to date about Outriders, but also I wanted to introduce new games into my coverage, which I'm super excited that I've actually done that. You guys have probably noticed that I've been covering Biomutant. I cannot wait for this game. I think it looks really promising. It's kind of has like looter shooter aspects to it, and it has tons of crafting in that game as well, and it looks absolutely beautiful, as you can see right here. If you haven't checked out the coverage, by all means, check it out. I'll try to throw some videos in the description as well as like a pinned top comment as well. But yeah, back to Outriders. Let's go into your top comments on my most recent video. Let's do this, shall we? So my most recent video was called this. Let's zoom it in properly. It says, Outriders, this one big change could save the game. Fans demand it. New end-game idea. And a lot of you guys want to see the drop rates updated for legendaries. So that's one of the big things that you guys think that could really help the game. Now, Nightshade 2 says, hell, at this point, I just want to be able to use my level 50 gear without being one-shotted by a level 45 scrub minion. And Basement Gremlin says, 2 days ago, I got a double drop off headache. 3 days ago, I got a triple drop of irritation. At this point, this game is nothing but a conduit to a different game. Yeah, I can feel your guys' frustration for sure. I have no idea how to say this one. Shagahaldili says, I wonder what their thought process was by limiting which expeditions show up when you can just go to the lobby and back to eventually get the one you want. Just make them all available. I think, you know, God, I have so many theories about that. I think they just want you to play different expeditions instead of play one specific expedition over and over again. I think that was their goal. But of course, you know, people really honed in on the easiest expedition to get through with the best loot. That's what. But yeah, anyway, it's kind of silly that they have that mechanic in there as well. Now, Dr. Felrossi says, all you need is for Tiego's inventory to rotate through all legendaries in the game. That way, you'll be able to find the item you want and buy it outright, excuse me, man. Instead of waiting for RNG-ness to bless you. Yeah, see, that's, as a developer, you'd think that would be a really good backup plan. Like, if our RNG system doesn't work properly, at least they can go to Tiego. At least that's how I think it should have been planned with this game and developed. To have like Tiego as that backup just in case the RNG system wasn't up to par at launch, which clearly a lot of you think that it isn't. So yeah, that would have been nice. Also, let's see here. Matt Freely, I think it is, or Feely, excuse me, says this. I would also like to add, with how rare the God Roll gear is and you're ultimately stuck with the look, I really feel like they should put a transmog system in so you can actually like your character's cosmetics. Anybody else feel the same way? A lot of people feel the same way, dude. Yes, absolutely. All right, there you have it. The latest happenings around Outriders. There's some sort of update for you all. You know, we'll see what happens with this game. I am going to keep you updated, but I'm also going to be including new games into the rotation, especially Biomutant. And let me know what else you would like to see, of course. You know, for future content, sound off. There's one other game that I am looking at, and I'm going to consider covering it, but yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you all next time. Take care.